Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever and however you're listening to the podcast. We just appreciate that you are. We're actually recording about 36 hours later than usual, and we appreciate your patience. We wanted to make sure we had the same quality that we always do, getting stats and other stuff in. And we'll be interested to see. Do more people listen if we put it out on a Monday night? Maybe while you're listening to Monday Night Football, who knows? But anyway, it's the Delaware High School Football Pod presented by Websites for Sports. It's available wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts and also on YouTube. On today's show, we actually have two big stories, one related to football and the other one related to this T-shirt that I'm wearing. More on that in a minute. We'll have the rapid rundown where we try to mention as many names as we have access to for every game that takes place. We'll hand out several helmet stickers and a T-shirt to our Promotion Zone Player of the Week. We preview next week's biggest games next to the last week of the season next year, whether you call it week 9, like the DIAA does and the football committee does, or you call it week 10, like some other people do, since we start with week 0. And of course, we'll have our weekly trivia question. But first, we want to make sure we thank the title sponsor of the Delaware High School Football Pod, Websites for Sports, created and managed by Brian Rutter. It's the only place you can find the schedule, rosters, stats of coaches, put them on, of every high school team in Delaware. I've used this site consistently for years as my boys have gone through playing high school sports. I love the thing where you can just create your own alert. So I'm not getting emails about every team in the state. I'm getting them about the golf team and used to get them for the soccer, the volleyball, and the basketball team for Apo High School. Bottom line, if you have a child playing indoor high school sports, it's your place to go. Websites for Sports. That's websites, the number 4 sports.com. We can't thank Brian Rutter enough for what he does for high school sports and also, obviously, for this podcast. All right, the first big story, Marty. I call it the biggest game of the regular season and perhaps the ugliest game of the regular season for a lot of reasons. One being that there were only 22 total points scored as Middletown defeated Sally 16-6. Sally's marched down the field right off the bat on their first possession and never scored again. And for the Cavaliers, it was their 5th straight win after going 0-3 against pretty fierce out-of-state competition. To quote you, Marty, you called the defenses of Middletown suffocating.
Yeah.
And that was after we spent most of last week's podcast talking about how great the Salesianum defense was after shutting out Appoquinimink. And so, you were following this game. I was the PA announcer for the Appo game. So I was following your text messages and I was following your posts on X. But you seem to have a real feel for, why I called this the ugliest game after reading a lot of stuff from you for a lot of different reasons. Some was just how spectacular the defense was that made it an ugly game for both offenses, and other were some unsportsmanlike conduct, blah 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 blah. So I'll let you talk. I'll let you give your opinion about what I called the biggest yet perhaps ugliest regular season game of the year, at least so far.
Yeah, this was a strange game. As you said, Sally's marches down the field on the first possession, punches it in. They have the PAT blocked. Middletown's been great on special teams, as has Sally's all year. And then Sally's was done for the night. And the Middletown defense was absolutely suffocating, the word I used over and over on Saturday or Friday night. This was Nab had his worst game of the season with 4 interceptions. Not everyone was his fault. The offensive line was kind of overwhelmed at times by that Middletown defense. Jack Wilson and those guys, they've just been flying high. They've allowed 7 points to Caravel and now 6 points to Salesianum. So they're not doing it against some chumps either. They're really playing well on these. Middletown. The weird thing about this is you have Middletown rushed for over 300 yards, yet their offense only scored 6 points, 7 points, counting the extra point, because they had a pick six and a safety. And their offense didn't do much either. And the penalties, Middletown, this just drives me crazy. And I know it does their fans too. The unsportsmanlike are just ridiculous. They're all taunting too. They're just absurd. It just so happens now, whenever you score a touchdown, the first thing you do is turn and taunt the other team or the other team's fans. It's ridiculous.
And everybody knows you're going to get flagged. It's the referees have made it clear, and we've seen it happen at all different parts of the games and blowouts and close games. If you taunt somebody, you're going to get flagged.
And clearly there's not any recriminations for this because it keeps happening. So nothing's being done about it.
Players
so
don't get taken off the field
it.
even. Although I have one story. I have one story where they did, and I'll talk about that later.
Okay.
So go ahead, keep going.
There was the biggest one of all. They intercepted Nab on about the 40-yard line of Salesiana about a minute before halftime. The referee comes out and announces two personal unsportsmanlike on Middletown, two different players. So it's a 30-yard penalty.
Yep.
Half's over. They end up taking a knee on the last play. They can't do anything. So we didn't see anything from the Middletown offense except they can run the ball very well. And they did this. They wore Sally's down in the second half. But to Sally's credit, they could not punch it in. They couldn't. This game never really. This was at once a close game the entire way, and at the same time, not close at all because the Salesianum offense couldn't do anything. Clearly, these are two of the best teams in the state. I mean, their out-of-state stuff shows it. They just seem to play ugly when they play each other. We saw this last year. A lot of people were saying this was a revenge game. I don't think either team looks at it that way anymore. They play enough. Sean Green had said this was the 7th time in 4 years these two teams have played each other. Right. So these guys know each other. And by the way, that's where some of the animosity comes from too. You know, it's like familiarity breeds contempt, right? Right? So these guys know each other well. On the ground, Middletown was sensational. Makai Walker, 22 carries, 174 yards. Amari Glover had the fork in Sally's with the 71-yard touchdown run. He had 84 yards on 10 carries. It's funny. You look at Darian Cunningham, who's been playing really well lately, was 3 of 17 in the game.
I saw that. I thought it was a misprint.
No, 3 of 17, and he threw 2 interceptions, and they still win by 10 points. It was the strangest game. Now, the positive for Sally's is their defense did a lot of bending, but not breaking. So, anybody who says I'm writing off Sally's because of this game is nuts. Right. You can't do it. These two teams are still up there. And it was just one of those odd games where you kept waiting for something big to happen. And aside from Glover's 71-yard run, nothing really did. And I think it didn't disturb the pecking order at all. Right. I would still say Middletown and Sally's are the two best teams in the state, although we'll talk later because Smyrna put on their most impressive performance of the year so far. So they're certainly still in the mix. Apo did what good teams do, and they beat up on bad teams. Yep. So it's interesting. This is really, Middletown they're in the driver's seat now. They win the next 2 games, they're the district champions. Right. If they slip up, which they play Apo in the final game, you never know. Those two teams have had an interesting recent history.
And it's a revenge game.
Yes, it's
a rival game, not a revenge game. It's a rivalry game. Yep.
So everyone is still in the mix here. We're still looking at a crazy playoff situation based on the seeds and things like that. And it's going to be an interesting finish. But this was the game, again, once kind of lived up to the hype and lived down to what the worst of it could have been at the same time. But you got to give credit to Middletown. 5 wins in a row since the out of state situation, those games. And their defense has gotten better every single game. Right. So while the offense is struggling, boy, that defense really gets them. It's scoring them points as well, which Sally's does as well. It's funny. We may see a final or a semifinal between these two that's, 7-6 and all 13 points are scored by the defense. Right. So yeah, right now, that was the big story was that there wasn't really any big separation between the two, I don't think. So we're sort of still in a holding pattern, and it's going to be a good postseason.
Well, and you talk about who they play next, and they each play one playoff team and one team that's not going to be in the playoffs. Yes. Sally's has Caravel and William Penn, and Middletown has Hodson, and then the game against Apo, as you mentioned. So worst case, they both go 1-1 in the last, or one goes 2-0. That's kind of what they're hoping. The only thing that's going to knock Middletown out of being the district champ is if they lose one of those 2 games. Right. Sally's goes 2-0, then Sally's is going to have, or what's that make it now? Then they would have the tiebreaker. So Middletown has to lose both those games. Basically, they do. If I'm doing it my math in the head.
Yep. And remember, at that point, you still have Apo in the mix. So we're looking at a 3-way tie for the district title.
And then who knows what happens.
Now, the points right now are pretty substantially different. Middletown, it's one of the first tiebreaker after head-to-head is defensive points allowed in district games, and Middletown is way ahead right now, but that could change anytime. Yeah. So.
And if you're interested in that point whole system, Sean Green's been tracking it for the last 5 weeks at least. So go to WDEL.com. He's the only guy I know that tracks it like this, where and again, his might not be perfect. And he basically says that it's, this is not the Bible. This is just the way it is for right now from what he can figure out. But if you're interested in that, WDEL.com, Sean puts it out actually it came out this morning. So it's usually Monday morning, maybe Sunday night. I don't know, something like that. But he's got the up-to-date all the scenarios and also the playoff points that Marty
Yep.
just alluded
Yep.
to. We try to stay out of that because
It's
neither one of us
nuts.
wants to sit down and figure it out. And so, anyway, but all right. So the other big story is today we're going to show off some of our brand new merchandise that will soon be available for purchase. We're hoping by the end of the week. Custom designed by our new logo designer, Amy Hoff of Hoff Productions, Delaware. The collection features t-shirts, long sleeve shirts, crew neck sweatshirts, hoodies, and polos, all created to let fans proudly represent Delaware's only podcast dedicated to high school football in the First State. That would be our podcast. The shop link hopefully goes live this week. We'll share it across all our social media platforms. So don't miss your chance to grab some exclusive gear and show your support of high school football in Delaware by supporting our podcast. We don't make any money doing this, Marty and I. And
Right.
we want the logo out there. We want people to ask you, hey, what's that podcast? Where can I
Yes.
find it? That kind of stuff. And so we've priced it as cheap as possible to include shipping and handling and that kind of thing. And so Amy's been great to work with also. And so we're pleased that she's involved in it as well. So be on the lookout. This T-shirt that I've got on is the T-shirt with the pocket logo. And then I also got a shirt here that shows you the full logo. I'm going to try to put it up without the green screen interfering.
There you go.
Look at that, Marty. We practiced it 15
Perfect.
times and
It
couldn't
didn't
do
work
it.
any.
And I did it on the first shot on the show.
Nice job.
So anyway, we hope you'll order it and support the podcast by marketing the podcast for
Yep.
us. Again, we're
Yep.
not making any money from it, so the cost is what we have to pay to get them done. So we're excited about that and hope you might be too. All right, time to go to the rapid rundown for week number 8. Again, 2 weeks left in the season. The season is 11 weeks long, starting with a week 0. This one, Marty, started out as many Thursday nights have with a blowout by Howard, 32-0 over Wilmington Friends. It was a scoreless first quarter, and that probably shocked a lot of people. But then Howard ripped off 3 touchdowns in the second quarter and just cruised from there. Quarterback Jamison Bryant rushed for a touchdown, threw for 2 more. Amir Madri scored 3 rushing touchdowns, including a 90-yarder, and he finished with 205 yards. Marty, we've had a lot of running backs finish with over 200 yards this season. More than I ever remember, to be honest with you. And so that was a great game by him. So Hale Benson and Isaiah Farrell were on the receiving end of 2 of the passing touchdowns from Bryant. Wilmington Friends, they close out the season since they only have 9 games scheduled. That'll be this week when they host Tatnall. They need to win out to have any shot of making the tournament. And when I say win out, they have to win out, and probably every team ahead of them has to go 0-2. They're just in that situation. They're kind of rebuilding. They've lost the second of the 2 Tattersalls, which were big in that program, and some other key players. Howard is at Mount Pleasant before what will be the district title game against Archmere. And, that's going to be one of those games, Marty. That could go one of 2 ways. It could be as good as we think it's going to be, or it could be a blowout.
Yes.
And everybody who's listened to this podcast know that I've got Howard by themselves in the top tier in Division II, and everybody, or in Class 2.
Yep.
Everybody else underneath them. And it's nothing against Archmere or anybody else. It's just that's how good I think Howard is. So that's the first rapid rundown. 32-0 Howard over Wilmington Friends.
Then we go to Brandywine, who is 2 wins away from a district title. It could be interesting. Quarterback Chase Beauparlant threw 4 touchdowns, 2 to Jasir Green, 1 each to Logan Faulkner and Kyron Robinson. Brendan Grundy had 2 touchdown runs, and Peyton Taylor and Blake Crawford each had a rushing TD. Nick Webb recorded 2 sacks. Ian Cleghorn, who's been phenomenal. I tell you what, John, you talk about rushing. It's been the year of rushers and kickers in Delaware this year. There has not been huge passing performances for the most part, but there has been a ton of running performances and a great number of good kickers this season. So Ian Cleghorn with his 7 PATs. They host McCain. If they win that game, they're in great shape. They would play Concord, who has a tough game, I believe, this week. If those two get to week 11 in their same position, if they kind of hold serve, then that may amount to a district title game for the 2 of them. But Brandywine in really good shape right now.
All right, Glasgow 30-7 over Charter School Wilmington. Second week in a row, Glasgow won by the score of 30-7. I triple checked that just to make sure it was true. Jamar Smith had 3 touchdowns, another running back over 200 yards rushing. Also on the other side, we talk about in Class 1, everybody plays both sides of the ball. So Smith also had 7 tackles and 2 interceptions. Cam Swinney, 11 tackles, 2 sacks. Travon Sharper, 5 carries for 37 yards, 5 receptions for 126 yards and a touchdown. And Christian Stevens, a 68-yard touchdown pass. For Glasgow, they host Newark Saturday, and basically winner still has a shot at the playoffs. Loser's going to have one game left, and that's
Yep.
going to be it. So that's like a playoff game for both schools. I'll talk more about the Newark game and what I saw on Saturday, but I hope the atmosphere is similar. I hope more students come out. Not a
Yeah.
lot of students at the Newark game. Again, more on that later. For Charter School of Wilmington, we didn't get any stats on them. They play at Christiana. Huge game for Christiana. Again, a loss
Yeah.
probably knocks them out. A win doesn't get them in, but we'll at least keep them in the conversation. Charter School of Wilmington will be ending their season the following week.
Then we moved to Cape Henlopen, 47, Dover 28. Cape Henlopen got out to a huge lead in this game, and then Dover started to whittle away in the second half. Rudy Simonetti, I tell you what, and every coach I've talked to says the same thing. These kids play from start to finish. They're not quitting in Dover. He's instilling a different kind of confidence down there. This will not be the same Dover team next year that you see this year. They're going to be much improved. For Cape Henlopen, they are really impressive right now. Jamison Tingle ran for 108 yards and a touchdown, threw for 2 touchdowns, which we said early in the season he's going to be one of the top two-way guys, that double threat quarterbacks, and he's lived up to that. Wide receiver Lamar McCoy, 4 catches, 66 yards. He had 3 touchdown receptions. One was from the backup quarterback late in the game. So a big win for Cape Henlopen. They now host St. George's, which is going to be a really interesting game because both teams, though Cape Henlopen is really kind of firmly in the playoff picture at this point, and so is St. George's to a little bit lesser extent. Whoever wins this game is in a great position. Dover travels to Smyrna. This is double tough because not only are they playing at Smyrna, but if Smyrna wins, they win the district.
Yep.
So they're not going to find any mercy from the Eagles this week.
All right, McCain, Dickinson, we don't have any stats. McCain won 48-6. We can talk about McCain plays at Brandywine. Dickinson hosts Concord. The significance of those two games is that whether Concord and Brandywine looks past their opponent, because the week later, the two of them are going to square off for, if they win these games this week, potentially could be the district title. And so it's one of those games that you can't look past, and that's really the only significance about those two games because Dickinson and McCain will not be in the playoffs. All right, the game I was at, Appoquinimink 42, Hodson 6. I misquoted that they were shut out. They were not. Hodson's score came on a running back run. I'm trying to think of his name. Keetwan Sabar is the one who ran it in. Collins gave me that. I put it in my column. I didn't put it on this sheet. But Appoquinimink came out, as you would hope they do, after getting walloped the week before by Salesianum. They were playing without Jasir Rogers, who was visiting Oklahoma, and somebody told me today that he is committed to Oklahoma.
He
after
did.
backing out of Penn State, like his teammate Leighton Von Brandt. So we'll see if Jasir Rogers sticks with Oklahoma. Obviously, there could be other suitors, and committing is not committing until you sign the paper, and nobody signed any papers yet. So, but anyway, congratulations to him if that is in fact where he ends up. But Desai Drummond used his arm and his legs. He scored using both. Don Monabell, big game, 10 catches on 10 targets and a touchdown. He also had 2 other catches that one of them was a long touchdown and an impressive touchdown, but it got called back because of holding. So he really was 12 for 12, in competition. 2 of them didn't count. But just an offensive performance. You would hope to have if you're Coach Brian Timpson. You're playing a Hodson team that is just really injured, and they had another kid carried off at the end, toward the end of the game. And so they've just been it's what injury is going to happen next, not are we going to have more injuries? And you just feel sorry for Coach Dave Collins and that Hodson team. But anyway, so Appoquinimink, now they're going to host William Penn. Again, Thursday night. There's a lot of games Thursday night. We'll talk about some of them. Big rainstorm coming in. So all these big plans for these teams that are planning not to play on Thursday night, and there's 10 games. I just looked at my notes. Only 4 on Friday night. Obviously, people want to try to avoid Halloween, which I guess I get, but in some ways I don't get.
You know what it is? I actually asked around the referees, John. I asked what the deal was. Police cannot cover the games on Friday nights
because of other stuff going on. So
because
then
of the Halloween. Sense. Yep.
It does make sense. Okay. So anyway, we'll see what happens because once you postpone on Thursday, I guess apparently not all of them can play on Friday.
Right.
Now, the thing is, the latest weather forecast I saw, and again, this is Monday night at 6:30 that we're taping this, is the rain is supposed to start or stop around 7 o'clock. If you're on a grass field, you're screwed because it's going to rain all day, according to the forecast. And so maybe that's what they're going to try to all do as a conference is, hey, if you've got turf, you got to get your game in Thursday night. But the sad part about that is it's going to be pouring at 5 o'clock when these guys come out to warm
to
up.
warm up.
Playing in the rain is fun, and everybody says, "Oh, it must be great when you play in the rain." And as an athlete, we played soccer, and some of the games were fun to play in rain. But I still remember the game where it was pouring down rain an hour before the game, and we were out there warming up. And this isn't the pros where you go in and you put a whole new uniform on.
Oh yeah,
you're wearing the same
you're
exact
soaked.
stuff you're in. You're soaked. Your underwear and socks are pretty wet after warm-ups. So anyway. Appo is playing, hosting William Penn, and then they have that showdown against Middletown. And for Hodson, they're going to host Middletown this week at Caravel. And so, so that game was a good game for Appoquinimink. Hodson probably expected to get beat the way they got beat, just because they don't have the people power, the player power, with all the injuries that they've had. Key people, including their quarterback, who have been out for the season, and it's just hard to play Class 3A.
Yep.
With backups, and that's been John Reed's banter since they got moved up to 3A. We're fine as long as everybody's healthy. It's when we've got to start moving down the roster that we're not playing with Class 3A players. So 42-6, Appoquinimink with a nice win over Hodson.
And you got one more.
I do. Caravel and William Penn. Caravel got the district win. Tyson Witcher, Josh Roy, and Joe Devane scored on rushing touchdowns. Coach John Reed texted me that this afternoon, and Coach Sable did the same thing for me. Cam Gardner connected with Mason Lohman for the first touchdown, and Chase Fockworth rushed for the other. Again, William at Appo. Caravel goes to Sally's. Yep. And so that might be one of the games to keep an eye on, whether or not Josh Roy and that Caravel offense is going to be able to score against, if not the best, one of the top two defenses in the state. And so Caravel came away with their first win against a Class 3A District 1 team.
If you're a Caravel fan, you're finally going to see them put it in the air because they're going to have to do it against Louisiana. And we know Matt Rice can do it.
Right.
Move on to Red Lion. Red Lion 40, Delaware Military Academy 7. This is the second week in a row where the result didn't surprise me, but the score did. They wiped out Odessa last week. Now they wiped out DMA. Red Lion, all of a sudden the Anderson boys are looking pretty good right now. They're doing really well. Big homecoming win for the Lions. They dominated the second half with 3 takeaways and a safety. Judah Barber, we mentioned him every week. It's like rinse and repeat with him. 20 carries, 172 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 conversions. He is one of the best runners in the state. Evan Budinger hooked up with Makai Richmond on a 30-yard TD pass. Jordan Jones and Josiah Murphy also scored rushing TDs. We'll talk a little bit about Budinger again because he had some personal accomplishments that he hit this week too. On defense, Charles Broadert had 14 tackles and a sack. Omarion Ramsey recorded a safety, and Zion Spencer Roberts, Charles Broadert, and Nathan Everett had interceptions. Now, Red Lion is at Poly, which is really down right now, and then they're at St. Mark's, which is going to turn out to be a really fascinating game because Coach DiNardo has the Spartans playing really well now as well. Delaware Military Academy, they host Milford. That might be kind of a get-well game for them. And then they're a huge game for them against Odessa for both of those teams.
Yeah, as we talked about all season long, Class 2A, there's a lot of good teams, and there's going to be some good teams that get left out because some other teams, get in for weaker schedules or whatever. Two of them, Delmar 20, Woodbridge 16. Delmar's Dason Bain scored all 3 touchdowns, including a 66-yarder. Caleb Melvin converted both PAT kicks that he attempted. Woodbridge, David Chapman scored on a 1-yard run, and Tyquan Smith returned a fumble 60 yards for the other score. Woodbridge is going to play Lake Forest, and Delmar is going to play at Indian River. And so both those games on paper should knock both Delmar and Woodbridge out of the playoffs officially, and continue Indian River and Lake Forest on the verge to still having an opportunity to win that district title and the automatic playoff bid that comes with it. Or automatic playoff bid and home field advantage.
Just one last note on that. It's interesting. If Delmar and Woodbridge were to pull the upsets this week, it wouldn't matter because the game between Lake Forest and Indian River is still going to be for the district title in week 11. But both those teams are not looking for a letdown. I can tell you that. Lake Forest continues to just roll 28-7 over Laurel. Laurel defense, I have to say, I watched some of this game. Their defense played really well at times. So a nice job by them coming out and still competing, even though they're still in the mix. But it's not easy. Junior Andrew White ran for 188 yards and a pair of touchdowns for Lake Forest on 16 carries. Demarion Ross, we've talked about him a lot this year, 112 yards and a TD on 11 carries. They also got a 2-yard scoring run from Jakai Hodnett. Hodnett and White both recorded a team-high 9 tackles. Lincoln Peeler added an interception. Lake Forest is at Woodbridge again. We had the reverse of the game we just did. And Laurel is going to host Sussex Tech. That now is a very big game as well. Sussex Tech is struggling a little bit all of a sudden after starting out, I think, 5-0 or 6-0. They've lost 2 in a row now. So the winner of this game gets to reposition themselves nicely in the playoff standings.
All right, St. Mark's 30, Milford 0. Second time Milford's been shut out. Fourth times they've been held under 10 points. For St. Mark's, all 3 units scored. Jeremiah Mitchell had a fumble return for a touchdown. Matteo Bracalenti kicked a 35-yard field goal and 3 PATs. And I keep meaning to look it up. I think he's kicked a field goal in every game.
I do too.
And I got to look that up, but I think he has. Teron Tippins, a freshman quarterback, threw 2 touchdown passes, one to Bobby Groves and the other to Matt Saunders. And Elijah Burke had a 59-yard touchdown run. So that's your offense scoring. Special teams we already mentioned. The defense on the fumble return. And on defense, Kip Fillingham and Graham Clark also had interceptions. Milford's at DMA. Again, Milford's got to DMA's got to make sure they take care of business. It can't be one of those games you look past. And St. Mark's hosts Odessa and then Red Lions. So 2 tough games in a row for St. Mark's to finish up the season.
Yep. Just a real quick note, too, on the kickers. I was doing some research for the trivia question this week. Jeff Noonan of Salesianum in the early 90s kicked 54 consecutive points after touchdown from his freshman through junior years. So the kickers out there, you want something to aspire to, hit 54 in a row. Newark Charter. This is a shame. Early college is kind of playing out the string. Their roster's not big. They're doing the best they can. They are improved this year, but Newark Charter did again what we say good teams do, and they took care of business. 62-0 over early college. They exploded for 35 points in the first quarter. 6 different players scored touchdowns. The defense created 6 turnovers. This was their first official varsity homecoming game, which was kind of cool that they were able to get this win. Rushing TD scored by AJ Bonus, Liam Aaron Cack, Austin, I'm not even going to try the last name, Jackson Laconic, and Linnell Tucker. Aiden Asante caught a TD pass from Chase Kennedy. Lucas Arankek was 7 of 8 on PATs and had a pick 6. It's so funny at the 1A level to see so many names over and over on offense and defense and special teams. Brady Lawhorn led the team with 6 tackles. Damon Saunders returned a fumble for a score and had a pick 6. He had himself quite a day. Newark Charter will now host St. Andrews. Then they'll play FSMA. Newark Charter is in the playoffs. They're not going to be one of the top seeds, but they're going to be a force to be reckoned with because they're a great unknown. They're a big question mark at this point for me, John. They could come out and beat a top team, or they could go out and get run over just because the inexperience is there. But they've got a lot of talent there. Early College will host Seaford. It's Early College's last game of the season.
I believe Austin's last name is G. Badagby. That's because he's in my coverage area. And I'm pretty sure that's true. If not, please somebody let us know so we can get it right. But I believe Coach Joey Russell told me it was G. Badagby. And so tough one to look at and pronounce for sure.
Yes, it is.
All right. If you're looking to buy or sell your house, Mary Kate Johnston with RE/MAX Associates will help you do it as if it was her own. An award-winning realtor for 20 years of experience. She's helped my wife and I sell our house 20 years ago. We've recommended her to friends who were so pleased they recommended her to their friends. Whether it's a first home, an upsize, or downsize, for yourself, an aging parent, or one of your kids, do yourself a favor and reach out to Mary Kate Johnston with RE/MAX Associates and let her make sure that you get the best value possible, whether you're buying, selling, or like we were, both. Her website is marykatej.remax.com. That's marykatej.remax.com. There you can also check out our multiple 5-star reviews on Zillow and read what others have said as well. All right, we move on. Odessa 49, Polytech 12. So Odessa comes with it, and the Ducks scored the most points in the program's short history. Quarterback Cooper Karan had 5 touchdown passes to wide receivers Zakai Williams, Xavier Terrell, and Finley Curran. Jaden Cheaton returned to kickoff 85 yards for a touchdown, and Isaiah Melton rushed for another on defense. Xavier Terrell and Deshaun Jackson had interceptions. For Polytech, quarterback Halim Edwards connected with Zane Harris for 1 score, and Jeremiah Irvin returned to kickoff 67 yards for the other. Polytech is going to host Red Lion, so not an easy game for them. Again, maybe they hope Red Lion's looking forward to the game after that. And Odessa is at St. Mark's and then DMA, so a tough couple games for them as well.
Next, this was the game of the week in terms of being played on the field. Caesar Rodney 45, Sussex Central 35. This game was a fantastic back and forth battle. Sussex Central was running the ball like crazy. Caesar Rodney can do a little bit of both. Riders get their first win over Central at the Castle in Georgetown since 2013. Also snapped a 5-game losing streak to the Golden Knights. Running back Jackson Timmons had a huge game, 169 yards and 4 touchdowns. Denzel Jones hauled in 9 passes for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns. They were both named the 302 Sports Player of the game. Benny Mitchell and Jim Tack did that game, and they had a blast calling that game. They were both out of breath by the end of that one. The Riders have now won 5 games in a season for the first time since they won 5 in the COVID year of 2020. It doesn't get easier for them. They host Cape Henlopen, in which could be a really fun game. Both teams, Caesar Rodney's kind of down on that 7-8 line right now, it looks like, based on Sean Green's numbers. So they're still looking to get as many wins as possible. So is Cape. So this is a big win for Caesar Rodney, and Sussex Central did not come out of this looking bad at all. Just Caesar Rodney was the better team, and they've been surprisingly really good this season. And Coach Strickland has done a really nice job building this program back.
So two tough games left for Sussex Central, that's for sure. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh yeah, St. George's and then hosts Smyrna. Sorry about that. Yeah, they've got some tough stuff left.
Smyrna 44, St. George's 12. I was a little surprised by the large gap in this game. I kind of expected Smyrna to win. Homecoming at Smyrna, even a tougher place to play. It's tough without homecoming. Don't forget to stop by and see those floats if you're anywhere near Smyrna.
They were incredible.
They did. They scored on each possession in the first half, and then the first 3 possessions of the second half. I read that somewhere. I assume that's right. It seemed like would have been a lot more points if that was the case, but maybe they missed 1 or 2 possessions in the first half. But either way, they scored plenty in the first half. Quarterback Drew Marks rushed for more than 100 yards and a touchdown, and he passed for 200 plus, hooking up with Phoenix Henriquez to open up the scoring. Henriquez also had 2 rushing touchdowns. Kamaj Kearney, and Terrell Ingram scored rushing touchdowns. Drew Marks finished with 21 of 24 passes. 223 yards. That's about perfect. I mean, 21 to 23 at any level, you might as well call it perfect. Eagles, perhaps the most balanced offense in the state. They're 462 total yards, and I read this in Kevin Tressolini's article, and I confirmed him when I saw him on the sideline at the Newark game. 232 of the yards were on the ground, and 230 through the air for Smyrna. So that's a pretty well-balanced offense.
That's what you call a balanced offense, yes.
And so they're going to host Dover on a rare Saturday game. And again, this is another situation where the police aren't available on Friday night, as Marty pointed out, so they had to push that to Saturdays. If they win, they clinch the title and guaranteed a home game in the first round. And even if they lose this game, if they win in week 10 or the last week, they still win the district. Right?
I believe so. Yeah,
that's the position they're in.
It could get a little complicated, but they're in the driver's seat for that. Yeah. And basically they're locked into the 2 seed here because they're not going to be able to pass Middletown or Sally's for the 1 seed.
So either way, they're playing a home game as a 2
exactly.
seed.
Yeah. The first 2 home games are guaranteed if they can win, of course, through the semifinals.
All right. So for St. George's, Joel Buck and Derek Foxmore each had 2-yard touchdown runs. They host Sussex Central, then at Cape. So they've got St. George's has a tough road. And again, we're not going to get into exact numbers because we don't know them. But I would assume they've got they probably can't afford to lose those 2 games and still get the playoffs.
Looking at it, they're right around that 5, 6, 7, 8 line. Yeah, they need to win at least one of these 2 games to feel a little bit secure. Then we moved to St. Elizabeth's 22, Concord 14. Alex Soto knocked down a 4th down pass at the goal line with seconds to go. This was also a fun game to follow online. Vikings' first TD came on a pass from Cole Andrews to Terrence Williams. Andrews also had a quarterback sneak for a touchdown. St. Elizabeth plays AI. St. Elizabeth is in great position, looking like they're going to be the 3 or 4 seed in the Class 1A. Concord has now suffered 2 losses in a row. Tavani Braxton scored from 9 yards out. They're at Dickinson, which hopefully for them is going to be a get well game because they need to kind of regroup and get things going again after they're starting the season with 6 straight wins. Again, they've lost 2 straight. They're still very much in the playoff picture. They're going to be in the playoffs, but they certainly want to end the regular season and then these next 2 games on a high note.
All right, athletes and students of all ages, unleash your potential with the Win the Day Planner, your key to building winning habits for a lifetime. This planner was put together by a local longtime wrestling coach and teacher, Dan Rigby, down at Caesar Rodney High School, who has nearly 2 decades of experience teaching and coaching students of all ages and abilities. He coaches youth programs as well. The Win the Day Planner is dedicated to helping students, athletes, and coaches reach their full potential. So not just for student athletes, but students and athletes. It combines essential tools for success, from goal setting and scheduling to mindfulness and habit building. The Win the Day Planner is the ultimate tool for students, athletes, and coaches to track progress, set goals, and achieve greatness. It's used by teams at all levels throughout the country, not just here in Delaware. And get this, because they've been so successful out of the state of Delaware, now they offer this program and the materials free to all teams at all levels, youth through college, in the state of Delaware. So get your print or digital copy today and check out all their products at winthedayplanner.com. That's winthedayplanner.com. And there you can reach out and ask about the free product here in the state at Delaware. All right, I'm going to take the next two, Marty. Christiana 21, Del Castle 6. Christian Pendleton had 2 rushing touchdowns, including a 65-yarder, and Noah Johnson, the other one, for 31 yards. Bradley Dunk was 3 for 3 on PATs. Christiana hosts Charter School of Wilmington. They might need to win out and get some help to get into playoffs. For Del Castle, they're out of the playoffs. They're playing for pride. Jerry Delbridge scored the Cougars' only points on a 7-yard run. They play at Conrad. Conrad will be looking to try to win that game so they can wrap up the district the following week in their thing. All right, Conrad 7, Newark High School 0. Marty, I went to this game 11 o'clock on Saturday. Beautiful day. Decent crowd. Disappointed with the number of students that were not there for both schools. There was not a student section on either side. And it struck me as funny because, it's 11 o'clock on a Saturday. I get it if you have a job, but you could have slept till 10, especially if you live near Newark, come out to the game. It was that part of it was the only disappointing part of the day for me, because everything else, it was a great game.
Yeah.
Not much scoring, obviously, under 5 minutes in the game. Penalties killed the Yellow Jackets. Has been a problem they've had all year long, but this broke a 4-game winning streak, so they've survived the penalties. But as we all know, when you play tougher teams, penalties are going to kill you. They had 11 of them for 127 yards. That stat is courtesy of Brad Myers, who was there with me on the sideline. He was covering the game, so he was actually paying more close attention to that. I was just wrapped up in the significance of it. And that was the other cool thing for me. I'm not sure the last time there was a game at Newark High where so much was riding on the line. And when I say so much, the winner of this game is now in the driver's seat, and Conrad's playing Del Castle, Newark's playing Glasgow. You don't want to assume they would have beat those teams, but they very well could have. They're teams they can beat. And so that game cost Newark the potential for a home field.
Yeah.
May have also cost them a playoff spot because, there's no guaranteed even with their current record that they're going to. The current record's 5-3 and 2-1. They might have to win out to get in. And that's why this week's Glasgow game is so good. But here was my favorite part, but yet not favorite part of this game. Newark had 2 chances to win. They got the ball back twice after Conrad scored the touchdown. They got stopped the first time, and then the second time, the pass from Teal went out of bounds right in front of me, and the receiver was clearly out of bounds. The only good thing about it is it wasn't an iffy call. He was 2 steps out of bounds, and so that was the only good thing about the end of that is it wasn't a referee call. Excuse me. But here was my favorite part. People have heard me complain and moan about kids getting dumb penalties, personal fouls, unsportsmanlike, and not coming out of the game.
Yep.
So on Conrad's drive, it was aided when 2 plays in a row, the same Newark Yellow Jacket got a personal foul, and on the very next play, an unsportsmanlike, which I assume was a taunting penalty. 30 yards. Coach took him out. Kid tried to get back in. Another coach yelled for him to come off the field and said, "You cost us 30 yards the last time we're down." Basically, sit and watch. And I say that's my favorite, and I'm not going to say who the kid was. He knows who he was. Anybody who's listening who was at the game knows who it is. Doesn't matter. And it's not because it's that kid that I'm bringing it up. It's because the coaches did what I've tried to, I want it to happen, that there has to be some sort of consequence when a personal foul, that's not a face mask. Face masks happen accidentally. But a personal foul by a kid doing something that could hurt the other player, a late hit, something like that, and the taunting, the unsportsmanlike contact, running your mouth. There has to be a consequence, or as you pointed out, not even related that, accidentally earlier in the podcast, it's not going to change.
No.
Kids aren't going to stop doing it if all they do is cost their team 15 yards. If they don't get pulled out and there's not a consequence.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that all coaches don't do something. It was just refreshing to be at a game. Sad that I saw it happen, that the kid got the 2 penalties in a row, or would have gotten one of them I wouldn't liked. But that the way it was handled, I was happy about that. So hats off to the Newark High coaching staff for how they managed that situation. Will it make the kid not do something? What I called that, the kid's not dumb. I'm not calling the kid dumb. It was a dumb mistake. It was a dumb penalty, especially in that situation where this team, this may be their last chance to score, and I just gave them 30 yards to go do it. And so hats off to the Newark coaching staff for how they handled it. And hopefully the message will be relayed to the rest of the team so that they can start. And Coach Tyron Rice told me the week before, he said, we are becoming better disciplined with stuff like that and penalties, but we have to become even more disciplined. You can't give up 127 yards
Oof.
on 11 penalties and expect to beat a playoff team, which is what
Right.
Conrad is. So.
And it's funny too, just real quick to piggyback on something else you said earlier. The Conrad students, if you're around on Thursday night, get out and get to Conrad because they're putting up the temp lights again. Which basketball in the backyard, John. That's my analogy always. Get out there on Thursday night because if Conrad beats Del Castle, they will win their first ever district title, and that's exciting. So kids, if it's 6:00 on a Thursday night, get out there. You can get home, guys. If you want to watch the NFL game, that's fine. You'll have plenty of time. The game will be over by 8:30, and you get out there and support your teammates, and hopefully Conrad comes home with a district title.
And look for Marty in the bleachers with his new red podcast shirt. He might happen to be there. And if anybody can send me a picture of that, I'll send you a T-shirt. So if anybody sends a picture of Marty in the bleachers with his red shirt on, I'll send you a T-shirt. Put it at that.
I love it.
All right, next one's yours, Marty.
Next one, we have Indian River, 42, Sussex Tech 7. This was a shocker to me. Not in the result. I expected Indian River to win this game. Sussex Tech played Lake Forest so close a few weeks ago that I expected this to be the same way. But Indian River, they're just playing at a different level. Again, Lake Forest, Indian River are the 2 and 3 teams of that 2A. You got Howard all by themselves right now. But Indians put themselves in the second tier in District 3 with Lake Forest, as we said. Devin Handy, 21 rushes, 66 yards, 2 touchdowns. Dylan Stokes, 2 rush TDs, 5 catches, 93 yards, a touchdown, and he recorded an interception. Quarterback Grice, 10 of 13, 151 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 rushing TD. Ty Weber, 8 tackles and 1 tackle for loss. Ricky Wiggins, 8 tackles. Landon Irby, 6 tackles. Chris Alameo, 5 PATs. Indian River is going to host Del Mar, which is tough for Del Mar. Then we have, like I said, no matter what happens here, you've got Indian River, Lake Forest playing for a district title in week 11. For Sussex Tech, they're still very much in the playoff picture. Their only score was a rushing TD by Eric Wright McLaughlin, who we've talked about a lot during the season. They're at Laurel. That's a big game for both of those teams. So a big contest for Sussex Tech and Laurel. Indian River and Lake Forest are on a collision course for that week 11 contest.
All right, Andre L. Photography. You might know Andre Smith of Andre L. Photography from the sidelines, capturing Friday night lights and the biggest game moments, but he and his wife love most is creating portraits that go beyond the field. Their award-winning sessions are designed to capture people in their true authenticity. For seniors, that means telling the story of this milestone year. For women and businesses, it's about a transformative experience that celebrates and elevates you. Whether it's senior portraits, personal branding, or the photo shoot you've always dreamed of, they are holding space for you. Get started with your session today at andreelphotography.com. That's andreelphotography.com. All right, First State Military Academy beat St. Andrews 53-21. You'd never know this game existed looking on the website for stats or anything else. No, we don't have any. All I can tell you is that First State Military Academy has scored 100 points in the last 2 games. So we'll see. They're not going to score that this week because they're off. But then they're going to play Newark Charter. St. Andrews School is at Newark Charter this week. And I believe there's an American Heart Association fundraiser or something going on at Newark Charter, I read. So it's going to be a game. All their home games are well attended. So we would expect this one to be as well. So I'll take the next one since that one was quick. Archmere 44, Tatnall School 6. Tatnall real quick. Will Lang had the only touchdown on an 81-yard touchdown run. They're going to play at Wilmington Friends. 2 teams just playing for pride in that game. For Archmere, Mike Donovan rushed 8 times for 117 yards and a touchdown. Ryan Hagenberg rushed for 40 yards and 2 touchdowns. John Orsini threw for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. He rushed for 38 more. Mark Mervine had 3 catches for 58 yards. Kevin Fox had 2 catches for 20 yards and a touchdown. Blaze Bastian Pastori had 4 tackles and a safety. Shane Harding had 4 tackles and a fumble recovery. Chase Lenkeek led the defense with 9 tackles. Jocks Cox had 4 tackles on the defensive line. Thank you for whoever fills out the information for Archmere on Websites for Sports.
Oh, yeah,
they
I know.
Do a heck of a job.
They do.
They give you as much as we could have. They're going to host Tower Hill and hopefully not a trap game because then they'll face Howard for the district title the week after that.
Our next game on the opposite end of the spectrum, teams that we almost never hear from, Mount Pleasant and Tower Hill. And we didn't hear from them this week. Mount
Mm-mm.
Pleasant wins this game 28-21. Mount Pleasant, this is Tower Hill has fallen off a cliff in
Yeah.
the past 3 or 4 weeks. I'm not sure what happened there, if there's injuries or roster issues, but they're really struggling right now. And again, as you said, they have Archmere this week at Archmere, so that's going to be a tough one. Mount Pleasant, theirs doesn't get any tougher if you look anywhere in the state. They host Howard. And it's been a tough, tough season for Mount Pleasant. It was nice to see them get the win here. But yeah, two teams that are still kind of like playing out the string, but still
Yeah.
playing hard. This was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
hard fought
Yep.
game. Hard fought game.
Yeah, and when we talk about these teams that are out of the tournament, we're not belittling them by any
Oh, no,
stretch of
no.
imagination. We're just trying to people. These are facts that we're giving
Yep.
you in most of
Yep.
in these cases. All right, Diamond Hill Incorporated has been a sponsor of the podcast from the start. 5 years ago, more than 20 years ago, Diamond Hill had started serving all of Delaware and the surrounding areas and all things construction, from commercial concrete and site development to residential projects. They have you covered. Email info@diamondhillinc.com for more information. That's info@diamondhillinc.com. All right, it's time for our helmet stickers. And Amy Hoff created the new sticker. It's right here that I've got on my shirt because we decided to make that our new logo rather than our faces, which donned the logos for the first couple years. She's got a special talent designing graphics or creating videos for any sport or other activity. So we love what she came up with for us, and I'm sure she would do great stuff for you as well. It's one of the things I love she did for my son Riley was when he committed to play basketball at the Sales. She created a social media graphic that we could share with other people and, tell everybody how proud of him that we were. And she just did a great job with that. So just an example of what she can do and the type of work that she
Yep.
does. Amy Hoff of Hoff Productions, from concept to creation, multimedia designs for every occasion. You can reach out to her at hoffproductionsde@gmail.com. Or if you aren't in a position to write that information down, just reach out and we can give you that for us. And we will send you out the link to our new merchandise store by the end of the week as well. All right, Marty, I'll start with my first helmet sticker. It goes to Appoquinimink wide receiver Dom Montabell. He was officially 10 of 10 for a touchdown, and he was the number one target that night because his teammate, Jasier Rogers, was at Oklahoma and since then has committed to Oklahoma. And so there was no wondering who Apple was going to try to get the ball to as their number one target. And yet he was still able to not only get open, but he makes great runs after he catches the ball. He's not one of these guys, he can, but he's not one of these guys that just goes long and somebody throws the ball up, he runs under it and scores. He has done that, but most of his catches are in the trenches, and then he's got to get loose and make runs for himself, and he just does a great job at that. So my first helmet sticker goes to Dom Montabell from Appoquinimink High School.
My first one is one I never would have thought would be a double threat at the beginning of the season. That's Smyrna quarterback Drew Marks, who has been known as a great passer throughout his career here this year. And I don't know if it's more out of necessity or if his dad noticed something. Mike Marks, the offensive coordinator, but he is killing teams with his legs. He is getting out of situations. And when he was a freshman, if people recall, he would either take off too early or wait too late. That's an obvious freshman thing. They all make those mistakes. He is running with purpose now. If he doesn't see anything when he gets through his progressions, he's off. And he is killing teams with third and long first downs, second and long first downs. Several big runs in this game. He finished with 107 yards against St. George's on 11 carries. He also completed 21 of 24 for 223 yards. It helps when you have Enriquez out there, Phoenix Enriquez. But Drew Marks has, especially for me in the second half of the season, has really come on and done a phenomenal job. So he is my first helmet sticker this week. Smyrna quarterback Drew Marks.
All right, next for me is wide receiver Denzel Jones from Caesar Rodney High School. They had that great win against Sussex Central. 9 catches, 182 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So a big-time game by a big-time player against a very good opponent in Sussex Central.
My next one is Cape quarterback Jamison Tingle. This kid has been phenomenal. Speaking of two-way threats, 11 times, 45 yards on the ground, 11 carries, 21 of 31, 289 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He has had a phenomenal season. He's only getting better. His relationship with Chip Knapp, who's now running the show down there, that mix has been perfect. So my next helmet sticker goes to Cape quarterback Jamison Tingle.
All right. I am going to go. You mentioned Drew Marks, right? You gave
I did.
one. Okay. So that was the other one that I had. So I'll let you finish up with yours.
Okay, my next one. This was a cool. This one, the News Journal has a short interview with this kid, and it's Christiana's Christian Pendleton. He scored 2 rushing touchdowns. Christiana took down Del Castle to kind of stay in the hunt, 21-6 on Saturday. He also had 2 sacks. This kid could not be happier to get this win. If you watch the interview, and I don't remember who did it with Delaware Online, but he smiles throughout the whole thing, and he mentions a teammate, an offensive lineman, who says threw the best block he's had all year. It's just great to see this kid so excited, and again, did a great job leading his team. So Christiana's Christian Pendleton is my next helmet sticker. Then I'm going to go to Taryn Timmons, the freshman quarterback from St. Mark's. I'm not sure what goes on at St. Mark's in terms of, I know Brett Green is the quarterback, but Taryn Timmons has come on. It's kind of a two-headed monster there, and they've both had good seasons. Taryn Timmons, the freshman, 5 of 7, 108 yards and 2 touchdowns in their shutout win over Milford. He's done really well in the limited amount of snaps he's gotten. He's getting more as the season progresses. So my next helmet sticker is Taryn Tippins of St. Mark's. And then my last one goes to running back Mekhi Walker from Middletown. 22 carries, 170 yards. He dominated in the second half of that game and really kept Sally's from getting the ball back on multiple occasions. So Middletown running back Mekhi Walker is my next helmet sticker.
All right, folks, those helmet stickers, how they work is I'll stick them in the mail to your head coach. They'll deliver them to you. Please don't put them on your helmet, even though we call them helmet stickers. Put them on your pad, your tablet, your phone, anywhere else, but please don't put them anywhere on your uniform during the game, because then you are an illegal, ineligible player because you're promoting our podcast. So your mic's off, Marty.
All right. One more thing I wanted to point out about, we talked about Evan Bunger earlier today, and I just wanted to point something out with him. On social media this week, Redline put out that he hit 7,000 passing yards and 70 touchdowns for his career thus far, which is just incredible numbers. So congratulations to Evan Bunger. I meant to mention that stuff earlier, but a great job by him, and Red Lion is really reaping the benefits this year.
Yeah, they've ripped off, I don't know how many wins in a row it's been, but they've just played great football.
And they're starting to beat teams down. Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
So Ken Anderson's doing a heck of a job there. All right, it's time for our Promotion Zone Player of the Week. Whatever, wherever, and however you want to promote your organization, product, or anything else, Promotion Zone can help you make the right decisions based on your needs and your budget. Whether it's apparel, pens, coffee mugs, or something out of the ordinary, Promotion Zone is your one-stop shop for all your branding needs. Celebrating their 16th year in business, they're located right here in Delaware. So you're working with people who understand the value of hometown business relationships. You can check them out on Facebook at Promotion Zone DE or on their website at promotionzone.biz. Promotion Zone, the swag folks since 2009 for all your branding and apparel needs. And this week's Promotion Zone player of the game is Caesar Rodney running back Jackson Timmons. He ran 32 times, 169 yards. So he was grinding it out.
He was
Marty.
a workhorse.
He was grinding it out. Sometimes we get these running backs who run for 169 yards, and they've carried the ball 5 times.
Yes.
One of them was for 80 yards, and
these were not easy yards.
He's grinding them out, and he had 4 touchdowns.
Yes.
And so just a heck of a game. Caesar Rodney's working hard to get into that tournament. Been a while since they've been there. And so Jackson Timmons is the Promotion Zone player of the game. We will reach out to him and his head coach, get his T-shirt size, and then Promotion Zone will send you a player of the game T-shirt that you can wear proudly. And if you get a chance, take a picture of it, send it to us, and we'll put it out on social media for you. So Congratulations to Jackson Timmons of Caesar Rodney High School, our Promotion Zone player of the game. All right, it's time to go to our 10 game, our games to watch. And I said 10 because that's how many are being played on Thursday. As Marty said, it's more because of the availability of police officers with all the Halloween stuff going on Friday night, although there are 4 Friday night games. And then there's 9 on Saturday, which I think will be the most that there's been. Now, what's going to be interesting is, again, it's Monday night. We're recording this, and the forecast is for it to rain all day Thursday, pretty much up to kickoff, at least up in Newcastle County, where I've been paying attention because of Appoquinimic's game. So it will be interesting to see if some games are shifted around. As of right now, the one thing I said to somebody was, as a former event director myself, the one thing I like about this forecast is that it's not iffy rain. It is going to rain. It's not a question of whether it's going to rain or not. It's a question of, is it going to be over in time for kickoff? Or as I said earlier, over in time for warm-ups because it's just a miserable experience if you're warming up in the pouring down rain
Yep.
and then have to go back in the locker room, sit for 10 minutes, come back out and play. So we'll see how that works out. My first game of to watch is a 3A game, Cape at Caesar Rodney. A loss doesn't necessarily knock either one of them out of the playoffs, but it definitely knocks them out of the possibility of a home game in the first round. I'm not sure either has a chance for a home game, but whoever loses this game will not have a chance for a home game in the first round. So that's kind of what's riding on this game between those two
Yep.
downstate.
My first one is a 6 o'clock Thursday night game under the temporary lights. Conrad hosts Del Castle. And you might say, well, why pick that one? Well, because Conrad is playing for a district title. Del Castle is playing for their playoff lives. So both of these teams are going to come out on fire. Coach Galloway and Coach Walters, two of the nicest guys, two of the better coaches in the state, will match up 6 o'clock Thursday again under the temp lights at Conrad. So again, kids, Conrad, Del Castle kids, 6 o'clock, Conrad High School. Get out there and root on your team.
All righty. Next for me is St. Mark's Odessa. I just think this is going to be a good game, and there's playoff implications riding for both of them. And so St. Mark's at Odessa, that game is scheduled for Friday. That's one of those 4 Friday games, and it's at St. Mark's. And so must be more of their security teams. I don't know what the availability, I don't know where people pull from other than what happens at Appoquinimink, where it's primarily state police, but they are obviously able to get enough security for that. So St. Mark's and Odessa at St. Mark's, playoff positioning for sure is on the line, possibly even whether one of them gets in or not.
And my next one is another Friday night game, Halloween night, 7 o'clock, Salesianum hosting Caravel. This to me is really interesting because Sally's is coming off just a performance that they'd rather forget against Middletown, at least offensively. And Caravel is coming off 2 straight losses. So they are looking to get things going, get things back under control again. They got off to such a great start, but they're now starting to hit the meat of that schedule. I'm curious to see what they do in terms of throwing the ball with Matt Rice and the receivers they have available to them, because Josh Roy is not going to be able to go up and down against the Salesianum defense.
Marty, what was the first game you talked about? I apologize. I was getting a text message.
The first one was Del Castle and Conrad.
Okay, so my last one, Newark at Glasgow. I mentioned about it earlier. It's on Saturday. It's a playoff game. The winner is still in the race. The loser is not. And the winner still may not end up in the playoffs. But the loser of that game clearly is not going to make the tournament. And so it is a playoff game for them on Saturday. And that's one I'm hoping that there's a lot of fans at. I think it's at 11. Check that time before you go to the game. But it's a perfect opportunity. Everybody lives within X number of miles of both those schools. They can come out and support their team. Weather's supposed to be good by then. The rain's clearing out of here Thursday night, overnight. So it should be a good atmosphere. And
my last one to look at would just be Smyrna hosting Dover on Saturday at 5 p.m. Again, a rare Saturday game for Smyrna. If they win this game, they're the District 2 champions and would be the number 2 seed for the state tournament. So a big game for the Eagles. All right, so those are your games to watch. Here's what's going to be on the air. 302 Sports, Glenn Frazier is going to be at the Cape at CR game on Thursday, and then Sussex Central at St. George's on Saturday. So he's got 2 really good games. Benny Mitchell downstate, Sussex Tech at Laurel on Thursday, and then they turn right around 24 hours later, Lake at Woodbridge on Friday. Sean Green at WDEL, he's got the Sally's Caravel game, and Delmarva Sports Network. Remember, that's a paid subscription thing, but a good deal if you're a high school football fan. They're going to be Cape Caesar Rodney on Thursday. Also on Thursday, they're going to broadcast the Delmar Indian River game. And then they're going to have the Seaford Early College game on Friday and Odessa and St. Mark's on Friday. So they've got 4 games that are going to be happening for you. So those are the games to watch and games that you can either listen to on the radio or watch on the air. All right, it's time for the Marticelli Restaurant Group Weekly Trivia Question. They own the Chesapeake Inn, Klondike Kate's, and La Casa Pasta, all 3 restaurants known for delectable dishes, cozy ambiance, and exceptional service. And thanks to the Marticelli Group, each week's trivia contest winner receives a $50 gift card that can be used at any of the 3 restaurants. You can enjoy signature crab cakes and other fresh seafood at the Chesapeake Inn. Their outdoor bar is still open. I was near it for homecoming pictures the other night, so it's still open. Homemade pastas and seafood specialties at La Casa Pasta, or Klondike Kate's famous cheesesteak, egg rolls, and nachos. We can't thank the Marticelli Group enough for supporting our podcast and in turn supporting high school football here in Delaware. Marty, the floor is yours. Last week's trivia question was, this was compliments of Sean Green. He came up with this one. When was the last time? Because Sally's and Caravel played, and it was, or excuse me, Middletown and Caravel played, and it was the first time that two state champions had played in quite a while. So the question was, when was the last time two state champions played each other the following season? There was a large number. We ended up getting 27 responses to this. It was a ton. There were a lot of wrong answers. The wrong answers were Hodgson and Howard, which was Sean had said, and I'll give him credit for this. He said, I guarantee you all your wrong answers are going to be Howard and Hodgson because they play every year and they both were winning state titles there for a while.
Right.
They never did meet in a season after they both won titles. So, the answer was 2015. Smyrna and Howard both won state championships. In 2016, Smyrna hosted Howard and beat them 56-36. So this was back in the run and gun days with Nolan Henderson and all that stuff going on back then. So the answer was Smyrna and Howard playing in 2016. And the winner was Ray Nunviller, who basically has an answer every week to our trivia question. So it was nice to see his name picked out of the hat, and I sent out his gift card today. Now, for my next one, I'm going to stick with Caravel. And of course, John, before I talk about that, I got to shout out my nephew, Michael Sheehan, who was homecoming king at Caravel this week. He and Rachel Jackson were the king and queen. Love to see my boy doing well there. Big basketball season coming up for Michael and Caravel. So I got a question from a listener at the beginning or the end of last week, and it said, has Caravel and Sally's ever played before? So I, of course, went down the TNJ rabbit hole like I always do, John, the archives, and they have actually played several times. Believe it or not, Sally's and St. Elizabeth's used to play. I came across those games, too. It's kind of interesting. So usually it was a matter of convenience because Caravel and Sally's were independents, as you remember, and it was very hard for them to find 10 games. So in 1991, in July, Sally's put out a call for a game. Caravel answered. Caravel was coming off a state championship. They had McAdoo, Harrison, Dixon, and all these big name players. Well, they all graduated in June of that year. But Coach Silk said, you know what? Nothing ventured, nothing gained. So he said, we'll play you. So Sally's graciously accepted. So the question is, this was the first time they ever met. They met on November 22nd, 1991, a Friday night, for a chance at a Marticelli Group gift card. Who won that game and what was the final score? So who won that game and what was the final score? And before I get to where to send your answer, this was back when coaches said things to the press that they probably don't say today. George Glenn was phenomenal for this kind of stuff, by the way. John, after this game, George Glenn said Caravel was better than St. Mark's, which, of course, at the time was Sally's biggest rival, and they had just beaten St. Mark's. He went on to say they asked him about William Penn, who was going to make the playoffs that year, and George Glenn said, well, if we played a Flight A schedule, we'd be in the playoffs too. This was awesome stuff back then. The coaches just said exactly what they meant. It's probably better media. That they don't.
Even before social media.
That's right. So if you have your answer, and again, the question is, when is the first time Sally's and Caravel played? Not when. It was November 22nd, 1991. Who won that game and what was the final score? You can best send your answer by Wednesday night at 8 p.m. to Delaware High School Football at gmail.com, DELHS football at gmail.com, DELHS football at gmail.com. You can also send it to John or my personal accounts on Twitter or Facebook. But there's your chance for a Marticelli Group gift card. So I like to try to keep it topical. Yeah. So we have Sally's and Caravel playing this week. So I thought, when is the first time they played? So kind of interesting.
All righty, that's going to do it for this week's episode. 2 weeks in the regular season left, folks. And then, of course, we'll do a weekly one all through the playoffs as well. Special thanks to our sponsors, the Marticelli Restaurant Group, Promotion Zone, Diamond Hill Incorporated, Mary Kate Johnston with Remax Associates Real Estate, Dan Rigby, author of the Win the Day Planner, Andre L. Photography, and Amy Hoff of Hoff Productions. And, of course, the presenting sponsor, websitesforsports.com. If you're a sports player, parent, or fan, it's the only website with a schedule of every high school team, stats, and more. Don't forget to follow us on X and Facebook, and please like and share our podcast to help us spread the word about the wonderful sport of high school football here in Delaware. And don't forget, we'll be sending out the link to our new merch store and hope that you will purchase things and help us market the podcast so that more people can tune in to listen and hear about you and your performances, whether you're a coach, player, or the parents that support them. Until next time, for Marty Sheehan, I'm John Buzby. Have a great sports week.